My portfolio is currently worth £6,387, all invested in dividend-paying stocks. I'll be showing which stocks I own and what they have paid. So pop the kettle on and make a mug of your favourite brew while I take you through my July 2026 dividend update. Hello and welcome to InvestTea. I'm a UK-based investor who is trying to replace my payslip with a passive income through investing in dividend-paying stocks. A quick reminder before we get into things, this is not financial advice. I'm making these videos for myself so I can track the progress of my journey. Let's get straight into this month's dividends. July got off to a good start on the 2nd with a dividend of £5.09 from Bunzl. Bunzl is a British multinational distribution and outsourcing company. It supplies essential non-food consumable products such as food packaging, safety equipment and cleaning supplies, and is in the industrial sector. They pay twice a year and are currently 4% of my portfolio, owning nearly 9.5 shares. With a yield of 2.6%, they've been paying dividends for 32 years, with a growth rate of over 6%, although the growth between 2024 and 2025 was less than 0.3%, done to protect its balance sheet. Analysts, however, forecast a near 5% growth next year. The next day, a dividend from the Sage Group rolled in for £2.07. The Sage Group is a British multinational enterprise software company that provides accounting, financial, HR and payroll technology for small and medium-sized businesses. Founded in 1981 in Newcastle, they are listed in the FTSE 100 and are in the information technology sector. Another twice-a-year dividend and are 4% of my portfolio. With a yield of 2.2%, they've been paying dividends for 35 years with a historic high growth rate of over 10%, although this has stabilised to around 5% in the last 10 years. The 10th saw a dividend from 3i Infrastructure of £3.14. 3i Infrastructure is actually a closed-ended investment trust, so classified in the financial sector. It is a subsidiary of the 3i Group, which derives its name from its investment focus on utilities, transportation and digital infrastructure. Paying a dividend twice a year, 3i is 3% of my portfolio. With a yield of 3.5%, they've been paying dividends since 2008, with a healthy average growth rate of over 6% per year. Next, for the pet lovers, there was a dividend of 75p from Pets at Home. This, however, was not so good for dividend lovers, as this was over a 40% cut from a near-decade streak. Pets at Home are in the consumer discretionary sector, so this is par for the course. They are, however, only 1% of my portfolio. Here we can see that dividend cut on the graph. There is a forecast of a 20% increase next year though, so with a yield of 3.45%, they are worth holding on to for now. The 23rd of July saw two payments. The first was from DCC Energy for £2.34. DCC is a multi-energy sales, marketing and distribution business operating across 16 countries in Europe and the United States. They are headquartered in Ireland, so are unfortunately subject to a 25% withholding tax. DCC pay 2 dividends a year and are 2% of my portfolio. DCC currently has a 3.4% yield with a 32-year track record of increasing dividends. Unfortunately, DCC is transitioning into a private ownership, meaning these dividend payments will come to an end. The transaction is expected to complete in the first quarter of 2027, so I will conduct further research and consider my position. The second payment on the 23rd was from National Grid for £5.05. National Grid is a utility company who manages large electricity and gas transmission networks, not just in the UK, but also in parts of the US. They pay 2 dividends a year and are 3% of my portfolio. National Grid has a relatively high yield of over 4%. However, they did cut their dividend by 13% back in 2025, which does bring down their average growth rate to below 2% in recent years. This, however, was not a true cut, but related to a £7 billion equity rights issue to fund infrastructure upgrades. Because there were more shares in the market, the dividend per share dropped mathematically. Dividends since have resumed growth. The last payment of July 2026 was on the 24th and from the RS Group for £3.87. The RS Group is a global distributor of industrial and electronic products. As with all the companies paying out this month, they pay 2 dividends a year and are 3% of my portfolio. RS Group dividend growth is strong in the last 10 years at near to or over 7%. They also have a reasonable yield of 3.2% currently. So that was July's dividends. The total was £22.31, which despite receiving 2 less payments compared to June, was still an increase. Let's look at the 12-month rolling average now. July's payments bring this to £14.28 per month, which is an increase of 63p from last month's rolling figure. Looking at my yield on cost now, you can see another increase from June, moving from 3.05% to 3.11%. So this does mean not much has changed in respect of what bills are covered. As usual, my little luxuries are covered, and some of my mobile phone bill. This is going to be a slow and steady process, rather than get rich quick. Again, as usual, I will be reinvesting July's payment as part of my regular investment, and when the effects of compounding kick in, we should start to see larger returns. That brings us to the end of the video. I would be very grateful if you could subscribe, and that also means you'll be notified when I release my next update. Why not also leave a comment about your investing journey? Until next time, keep investing and goodbye.